Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. My name is Amy Vandermark, and I'm the Managing Director at CRV USA. Just to start off with just a little housekeeping rules, if everybody could shut their phones off or turn them on silent, that way we don't hear all the unique ringtones as people are calling. Today is my privilege to be standing in front of you to introduce to you Woods Hill Farm, LLC. For those of you that haven't heard about CRV USA, we're a genetics company focused on delivering solutions to our customers through healthy, efficient, and profitable herds to help customers build better cows for a better life. Today is my great honor to be able to introduce to you the Brannigans, Mike, Emily, and Corey, along with Tim Fargo, their genetic consultant from CRV. Today we'll be doing a little bit of a different type of a virtual farm tour. We'll be having 4 different videos that will be showcasing Woods Hill Farm. As many of you are aware, dairy producers don't always like to be in the spotlight, and the Brannigans are no different. Their excellence in working with their herd of dairy cows, ensuring that they harvest the best quality feed, and with working with their team of employees to ensure attention to detail is met, and that everyone knows that each cow is comfortable and healthy to produce the highest quality milk possible to meet their customers' demands. So public speaking and being in front of a crowd is not in their comfort zone. But in between each video, we will allow time for questions and allow time for you to get to know Mike, Emily, Corey, and Tim a little bit better, and for you to be able to ask questions about their operation. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Mike, Emily, Corey, and Tim and the Woods Hill Farm, LLC. You will find them on the top of a hill in Turin, New York, about an hour and a half northeast of Syracuse, or about an hour east of Lake Ontario. The Brannigans milk just over 750 Holstein cows and farm over 1,500 acres. Mike did not grow up on a dairy farm, but got the awesome opportunity to be working on Woods Hill Farm starting back in 1989. Then he became a partner in 2008, and then finally purchasing the farm in 2015. As we watch the first video, carrying on the tradition of excellence, you'll learn about the strong heritage that the Woods Hill Dairy Farm was founded on.
Woods Hill Farm, LLC holds a rich history passed on through generations of progressive dairy farmers in New York. Ted Seaver, born in 1925, grew up a curious boy. Around the age of 9, he started to wander towards a neighbor's farm to ride their horses. Those neighbors, the Reeds, ran a 33 milking cow operation. And as Ted started coming around, they started letting him drive an old tractor around the farm. Quickly, Ted became more invested in the farm and began shoveling manure for them. When he was 11, they asked Ted to stay at the farm and help with chores. As an adult, Ted was called off by the Army, but when he came back, Ted was offered to run the Reed's Dairy Farm for $55 per week. When he was 22 years old, the Reeds sold the operation to Ted and his wife for $30,000. That sale included 134 acres, 60 cows, 4 heifers, a team of horses, and 2 old tractors, along with an old, unhandy barn and a farmhouse. Ted started buying more land from neighboring farms and ultimately needed help running things. Along came Mike Brannigan in 1989. Mike, a non-farm boy, was welcomed by Ted with open arms, who almost immediately started showing him all he knew about dairy farming and treating him as if he was his own son. Fast forward to 2008, when Ted officially took on Mike as a partner in Woods Hill Farm and the succession planning began. Around the same time, Mike's wife, Emily, also started getting involved on the farm. Not coming from a farming background either, Emily was a quick learner and eventually took over all duties related to caring for and raising the calves. With Ted's guidance, both Mike and Emily learned all the ins and outs of dairy farming and owning and operating their own farm. In 2015, Ted passed away. Ted was a humble and modest man. wholeheartedly dedicated to being a dairy farmer. A man of few words. When he spoke, you listened. And one thing Mike and Emily said about Ted is, if you met Ted, you would never know what he built from what little he came from. With his passing, the Brannigans wondered how they would ever carry on the legend that Ted started. Despite the circumstances, Woods Hill Farm was left in the Brannigans' hands, and many wondered if they were equipped to take on the challenge. In fact, the day of Ted's funeral, some commented that Mike and Emily had big shoes to fill. But one friend heard all this and gave a little encouragement that has had a long-lasting impression. They might have big shoes to fill, but Mike's already got the boots on. He just needs to tie them up. And on that note, the Brannigans knew that they had to continue dairy farming. Mike and Emily laced up their boots and jumped in feet first to carry on Ted's legacy. When it comes down to the day-to-day work, Mike enjoys driving tractor and getting the field work done in a timely manner. Like any other dairy farmer, Mike oversees all cows, crops, employees, and all operation practices. As a dairy woman, Emily spends her time with the calves, perfecting every process in the calf barn. In between feedings, decision-making, and health monitoring, she also keeps the business side running successfully, making sure bills are paid, payroll gets out on time, and monitoring herd performance. Their son, Corey, is 19 years old and also part owner in the farm. He already plays an active role on the farm and plans to learn more about running and operating the farm to eventually take it over from his parents. The Woods Hill team has very clear goals, and everything they do comes back to their main philosophy: to ship high-quality milk from healthy and efficient cows 365 days a year. They want to reach maximum components without sacrificing total pounds of milk produced. They keep standard operating procedures strict in order to keep things clean and efficient. Along with efficiency, they strive to build healthy cows that maximize feed-to-milk ratio. This dedication has paid off for the Brannigans, making the farm more successful and profitable when most dairy farmers have been struggling. Woods Hill now consists of 770 milking cows, milked in a double 16 parallel parlor 3 times a day. The Brannigans are very proud of their milk quality progress over the years. Knowing that Ted's main focus was to produce premium milk, they often ponder what it would be like if he could see the improvements they've made over the years. The Brannigans wouldn't have all this success if they did it alone. They have a team of 16 employees that work day in and day out to fulfill all the needs of the farm. The employees are a huge factor in keeping the farm progressing and moving in the right direction. With great employees comes great outcomes. The Brannigan family is proud to have won the annual Super Milk Award several times, an award based on shipping high-quality milk. Along with having an operation to be proud of, Mike and Emily also enjoy hosting tours for a variety of different groups. The Brannigans understand the disconnect between consumers and producers, and one of their goals is to bridge that gap. As if dairy farming doesn't keep the Brannigans busy enough, they also own a hobby farm. They raise chickens, donkeys, and crossbred Angus. They strategically breed with Angus on some of their Holsteins to get a bigger return on investment versus selling off Holstein steers. In addition to farming, the Brannigans have carried on another vision that Ted had, running a small maple syrup business. For many years, Mike and Ted spent what free time they had in the woods of their property, eventually installing a reverse osmosis maple syrup operation in 2016. Just this last year, Mike produced a whopping 750 gallons of maple syrup, and they have plans to double output in the coming year. Clearly, the Brannigans have done something right. They run a very successful dairy operation and have many other rewarding projects underway. But what really brings them back to dairy farming is the love for what they do. Mike and Emily were left with a farm that has deep roots, and they're committed to carrying on the tradition. They forever have Ted's beliefs instilled in them, and every day lace up their boots to keep that vision a reality.
Mike, before we get into the cows and all the calves on the next videos, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to Woods Farm back in 1989?
ad in the paper.
And what attracted you to come to a farm and work on a dairy farm? What did you do before that?
Well, at the time I needed a job, and I started working and liked it, and continued doing it.
So as you moved from just becoming a worker into a partnership, can you tell us a little bit about how that transition happened?
Ted's son was originally supposed to take it over, and he had passed away in 2004 with leukemia, and I just kind of fit the role to take it over.
Awesome. What advice would you give others, people that are coming on to a farm, maybe don't have a dairy background but are coming on, to how the success that you guys had, coming from non-farming backgrounds to working to then ultimately owning and running the farm on a day-to-day basis?
Follow your dream.
Follow your dream. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions on of the Brannigans so far? Okay. So as we take a closer look at the day-to-day operational routines at Woods Hills Farms, the Brannigans know that their future success starts with the dry cow and getting her ready to give birth to a healthy calf and setting her up for success to produce the highest quality milk possible. Emily is in charge of the calves, and you'll see in her passion and dedication to ensure that every one of her girls ends up in the milking herd. It all starts with a success in the calf barn.
Every dairy producer knows that day one of life is crucial to building a healthy and profitable herd. A successful dairy operation starts in the maternity pen. And this is why the calves at Woods Hill Farm are born with strict protocols to ensure the health of the calves. When calves are born, their navel is sprayed with a mixture of alcohol and chlorhexidine, and they are removed from their mother. Each calf is fed a gallon of colostrum within 1 hour of birth, given a shot of multimin, and tagged for identification. An evaluation of each calf occurs when they are 1 week old. If the calf is vigorous, groups of 5 calves are transferred to the calf barn, where they're under the gentle care of Emily Brannigan. Every morning and night, Emily laces up her boots and heads down to the calf barn to mix a nutritional milk replacer for the calves. Each calf is fed 3 gallons per day of 14% solids milk replacer. At 2 weeks old, they genomically test their calves. Their genetic consultant, Tim Fargo, comes to the farm regularly to help take samples and run them through CRV's Herd Optimizer program. Once samples are taken and results arrive, the team analyzes the data on each calf to make decisions on what calves to keep. The Brannigans view it as a report card on each calf, determining the outcome of the calf before it happens. Most farmers know how frustrating it can be to raise a calf, and after 2 years of investing in the heifer, realize that she's not a right fit for the herd or not the genetics they want to pass down for generations. For Woods Hill, they don't have to wait. Not only does this save time, but also money on feed, vet bills, and other expenses. Using Herd Optimizer, they determine what calves to keep, which to sell, and what cows are in the lowest 25% of the herd so they can breed them to Angus. Several years ago, the Brannigans found themselves often struggling with sick calves. But with changing some protocols and using right genetics, their calves are lively and active and hardly have any issues. In fact, Emily loves to talk about this progress. She'll tell you how dramatically different her job is now. The calves are healthy and strong, full of energy, and exactly what they're breeding for. With Herd Optimizer, they've also learned a lot about the genetic progress of some of their cow families. In fact, the Brannigans recently discovered some elite animals in their herd and a heifer with an industry-leading NVI score. With genomic testing, they can determine which animals are best to use for flushing and which to use as recipients. When things are progressing well with the calves, they're cut back on milk, usually at about 5 weeks of age. Then, they're fully weaned and stay with that same group until they're 8 weeks old, ensuring they stay stress-free and experience an easy transition. At that time, calves are moved into groups of 30 head, and here they're fed hay and grain, and eventually transition to TMR that is top dressed with grain. During the 8 to 12-month age period, they're fed just TMR in the free stall. At about 12 to 13 months of age, the heifers are moved to the breeding barn. Heifers are typically bred at 13 months. The individual results of each animal are paired with a mating program based off the heifer's genomic test, and the AI technician uses the mating information to breed the heifers with the right sire. From the newborn calves all the way to breeding age heifers, the Brannigans monitor their growth and progression closely. With smart farm management and genetics, they have heifers that calve easier, are more efficient, make healthier calves, and make quality milk. All outcomes worth putting the farm boots on every morning for.
So, Emily, obviously we can see that your passion really lies with the calves and everything that you do with them every day. As you look back and some of the obstacles that you faced when you first took over the calves, not having grown up on a farm, can you tell us a little bit about what some of your biggest roadblocks were and how you overcame those?
Just learning about the calves. When I started in the calf barn, I'd never been on a farm. The lady that we had that took care of the calves left, and Ted and Mike are like, "You can do it. You can do it. It's just like taking care of your kids." And so out to the barn I went, and Ted was very good. Very, he'd tell you how to do things. You just learned from him. No pressure. No, if you made a mistake, that's okay. Just keep going. He sent me to some classes at our local veterinary clinic and also at the Cooperative Extension, and I just learned from there. Asked a lot of questions of Ted, a lot of questions of our veterinarian, and anybody else that I met that was on a farm, and just learn as I go.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions from the audience on Emily's protocols or her calves?
I'm Brenda Dutcher from Humboldt, Nebraska, and I have actually 3 questions. So I'll start with the first one I have is, you were talking about dipping with, I didn't catch what you actually dipped with. We dip with iodine, and I wondered what the benefits of using what you use versus what we use and why you do that.
I use alcohol and chlorhexidine mix, 50-50 mix. I started using that because we were having trouble getting the iodine. And that's what our veterinarian recommended that we use. And alcohol helps dry, the chlorhexidine helps fight infection and stuff.
And we were having a lot of issues. We've had a lot of issues in the past. Even though we dip with iodine, we're still getting a lot of umbilical cord infections, like a lot of them.
Yeah, and when it's done and done right, it cuts way back on that. I don't have the infections that I used to have with the iodine.
How do you dip? Would you have a dip cup, or how do you?
I don't use a dip cup.
I wondered, so you.
We use a spray bottle.
Spray bottle.
Yes, it's sprayed. I don't like the dip cup because
One calf to the other.
it's transfers from one to the other.
Okay. The other question I had was, you mentioned in the video that you cut back on milk at 5 weeks. So how much milk do you start out with? And you fed a gallon of colostrum at the beginning. Then how much milk do you start with, and then how much do you cut back?
From the gallon of milk at the first feeding there, my calves are all fed 2 feedings of colostrum. The second feeding, they're fed 2 quarts of colostrum. And then from there, they're put on a bottle. And once they're drinking vigorously from the bottle, the 2-quart bottle, they go on a feeder. My calves are housed in groups of 5. So they're fed 7.5 gallons of milk in the morning, 7.5 gallons at night. And if they're all sharing nicely, it averages to about 3 gallons milk per calf per day. And it's between 5 and 6 weeks because the calves that I keep that go in a group are born within a week. Within 7 days. The calves are tagged, and that's how they're grouped. So when I start cutting back on the milk, I'll just cut down like a half a gallon of milk at a time for 3 days, then another half a gallon till they're down. Then they're weaned off the milk.
And you start at 5 weeks, right? You start cutting at 5?
Yeah,
or
some are 5, some might be,
Depending
the
on the
first one
size.
might be 6 weeks,
Depending on
because
the
of the
size,
age.
maybe, or
Yes.
their age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess because that's one of the problems we are having also with our little calves is we have a lot of sucking problems. And I don't know, we were actually visiting with a vendor here that had a different kind of nipple than we use and said that that might help. And so I don't know what you have.
That is an issue that we have.
Okay. Yeah, he was actually from Norway. Was it New Zealand, and he said something to do with the type of nipple we were using. So I'm kind of anxious,
Oh, that's-
excited about trying this product to see if it actually
Okay.
works, because we were having a lot of problems with the calves sucking on each other. We have to put in nose rings and
Yes.
almost everything to stop the
Yep.
sucking.
We have too. That's a,
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
About
I'll
that
I'm going to
nipple.
talk to you
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah,
But yeah,
please.
because I'm really excited about trying
That
it.
is- that-
so
that
maybe
is-
that's a plus out there. Go see this this vendor in this building. What's in that way?
Yes,
New
please, that's a
Holland?
good tip. Okay.
I bet. And then my last question is actually, what other problems did you have with calf raising? What have you overcome?
We had an awful issue with E. coli and scours, but they seem to be doing better with the group feeding, and that with our E. coli we had to our veterinarian typed it, and we give the shots to the cows, so the calves had it before they were born. That really helped with that. As far as the scours go, I use all the calves get first arrival. I use that in the milk. They get started right on that as soon as they're done with the colostrum. That really seems to be helping.
Yeah, same thing here. We've had a lot of problems with, we didn't have crypto until about 2.5 years ago. And so we had crypto, we had E. coli, and we have another one. Calves all had all three, so it was a deadly combination. We lost almost everything, like, over half of our calves the first about 2 years, about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yep.
And now we're being able to manage that a little better, but it's still not real good. And it seems like then they get pneumonia afterwards. So, all
Yep. Once they're weak, it's hard. Yeah.
right,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions for Emily or Mike or anyone? Yeah. Go.
I'm from Buffalo County, Wisconsin, and I was just wondering, as was mentioned, it's 365 days a year, and as we all know, calves are touchy at times, so one person sometimes has the best insight into their needs. So my question is, what is your schedule as you're here now? Who's doing chores at home, and what type of rotation, if you will, or once a month off or no time off, that type of thing? That's my question.
Okay. I have 2 people that help me in the calf barn. I have a college girl that helps me. She comes out every night and helps me in the calf barn. And then she takes care of one day on the weekend. Okay, and then the other gentleman that helps me, he's been with our farm for years and years. He does the other day on the weekend. So I actually have Saturdays and Sundays off. As far as vacations, this is our first one in a long time. But I'm always there, so if they need me, they call.
That's a real key to it.
Yes. Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you. So Mike and Emily know the key to producing milk is making sure the cows are well cared for, and as we just learned, that starts with the dry cows and setting them up for success in giving birth. Then getting the heifer pregnant to get them into the milking string, and then getting her pregnant again to maintain peak performance production. As we go into the third video, you will learn the tools and the practices that Mike, Emily, and Corey use to maintain high quality, high producing milk cows that are efficient, healthy, and last in their herd for multiple lactations.
The Brannigans know that profitability starts at each newborn calf, but they also know where their milk check comes from, and that's from making high-quality milk. At Woods Hill Farm, they have 17 groups in their free stalls, and those cows are grouped by production and days in lactation. The fresh pen is a group of 60 cows, allowing them to transition nice into their lactation. The other 5 groups are stocked with 120 cows to maximize free stall space without sacrificing cow health. Every day, Mike and Emily lace up their boots and face the day head on. They know the key to producing milk is making sure their cows are well cared for. They closely and carefully manage their cow pens and use sand bedding to ensure the cows are comfortable. The happier and more comfortable the cow is, the better production she will have. They also know that feeding practices are also a large factor in producing quality milk. They feed TMR twice a day. That includes corn, haylage, hay, and dry feed. They push up feed 5 to 6 times a day, knowing that the cow will eat more to produce premium milk. As the farm has grown from 33 cows to 1,300 animals, it's become difficult to manage cows on an individual basis. No matter how many boots on the ground, it's difficult to monitor and catch everything. To help with that, and to remain as efficient as possible, Woods Hill recently installed a cow monitoring system to track every single cow's actions and patterns. The activity monitoring system they installed is Ovalert, a product sold by CRV. Ovalert sends heat behavior, health signals, and specific information on eating time, rumination, inactivity, and so much more to the herd manager. It allows the herd manager and the Brannigans to keep a close eye on each animal individually, and has resulted in catching health issues sooner and improving fertility results, ultimately saving Woods Hill from unnecessary treatment costs. As the data shows in Ovalert, cows love schedules. So it's no surprise that Woods Hill keeps their cows stress-free when it's time for milking. The double 16 parallel parlor is quite the sight to see. The employees take great pride in making sure it's scrubbed down and spotless when not in use between the 3 milkings a day. And even when the parlor is in full milking mode, the workers understand the goals on the farm and work hard to keep it in prime condition. Not only are their team members thinking about the next steps, so are Mike and Emily. When they built this parlor, they planned for the future, allowing for expansion. They strive to produce a great amount of milk, but even more so, producing a great amount of components. They understand what comes on their paycheck, and they have found how to increase that number. Mike and Emily say it's not about producing more milk, it's about producing better milk. This dedication and their focus on producing high-quality milk has truly paid off. Since incorporating CRV genetics into their herd, the Brannigans have seen a tremendous increase in the pounds of fat and protein they ship every month. They've gone from producing nearly 44,000 pounds of fat and almost 36,000 pounds of protein per month to just under 64,000 and over 50,000 respectively. They truly increased components without sacrificing milk, and their milk checks have shown it. Part of Mike and Emily's success comes from their value of partnerships with vendors. Their CRV genetic consultant, Tim, understands their goals about increasing solids in their milk and breeding for a healthy, long-lasting, efficient, and easy-to-manage herd. With the help of Tim and CRV, Woods Hill has brought a side of cattle genetics to their farm they hadn't seen before. One of the most significant genetic differences is in their use of Dutch Holsteins to more efficiently accomplish their goals of producing premium milk and becoming more profitable. Knowledgeable farmers like the Brannigans know that all the attention and focus isn't just on the milking cows, but that the dry cows deserve and require some extra attention too. Managing dry and transition cows play a huge role in their upcoming lactation and ultimately on the production and profitability of the farm. Once a cow goes dry, cows are kept on farm in the dry cow barn, where their diet is closely overseen. Their ration consists of corn, haylage, mineral, and hay to maintain desired body condition. Fast forward through most of her dry period to a few weeks before calving. The cows are moved into the close-up pen so that the Woods Hill team can more closely watch each cow and observe behaviors to ensure everything will go well during calving and for her upcoming lactation. The transition cow diet is very important when considering fresh cow diseases. Therefore, the transition cows are fed corn, straw, and minerals that are closely monitored. Once it's apparent that the cow will be calving, she'll be moved into a grouped maternity pen. When the cow moves into the pen, she's in a relaxed environment with very little stress. Her temporary home is equipped with clean, dry straw bedding with plenty of access to water and feed. In the calving area, each cow is watched carefully, checked every hour. With such close management, cows have a positive birthing experience. The employees at Woods Hill monitor the cows closely to ensure their health for the next lactation. It's because of their strict protocols and their close monitoring that the Brannigans have some of the healthiest cows and lowest occurrences of fresh cow diseases. As you can see, it's all about taking good care of the cows, making sure you have the right team members on board who believe in the same philosophies, and ensuring the cows are comfortable and content so they keep calving and milking year after year.
Mike or Emily, can you explain to us a little bit more about your breeding philosophies and your breeding goals?
So stemming, I've been working on the genetics with the herd way back even for probably 25 years now. And Ted has always told me that he wanted to make better components. So we really, in 2010, we really took that into consideration, and we breed for strict percents, and we have a very strict breeding goal. We look at percents very heavy of fat and protein, them being the most heritable traits that there is of any of them. It only makes sense to put that to work. So the reason we use a lot of the Dutch Holstein sires is that's where you're going to get, that's where we're getting our biggest bang with the percents of fat and protein. So that's the biggest thing that we're looking at. We don't necessarily look at any certain formulas. I like to look at basically what makes you the money, and as far as milk, fat, and protein. Udders and feet and legs don't seem to be any problem. We obviously don't ignore them, but that doesn't seem to be an issue. So that's the main focus, is the percents of fat and protein that we are focusing on.
Does anybody have any questions for the Brannigans or Tim?
Brenda Dutcher again. I have a couple questions. One is, says, how big an area do you provide for your dry cows? I don't know how many you have in an area. How big? Yeah.
The dry cows are in the freestyle area, 60 stalls, I believe, sand stalls. And then when they're moved to the bedded pack area, I think that'll hold like 35 cows.
Okay, and then the other question I have is, do you have any problems with DAs?
Very few.
Okay.
Mike, what do you contribute that to, that you don't have those problems with DAs?
Lucky.
On your cow alert monitoring system, I'm curious as to if you can expand on that, as to, you know, how long you have been working with that. Is it a 24-hour ongoing proposition? And how long does it stay with a cow? Throughout her whole gestation? And what do you glean from that data? How do you take and reduce that data to some meaningful information?
On the health part of it, which is that records eating time. So the daily routine, I'll give you a brief story. When it first got put in, and I've had this with many farms that have put it in, at first the herdsmen feel threatened by it. They feel like it's against them. But once they learn how to use it, their herdsman currently today, the first thing he does when he goes there in the morning is prints off the cows that are triggered for not eating. So it monitors how much eating time they have on the day, and you can set how sensitive you want that to be, so it will alert them that the cow is not eating. So what does that do for them? There's been many instances lately that he's actually caught cows with mastitis before they even got caught in the parlor because they weren't eating properly. So that would be the health part of it that we're really using the eating time for. The heat detection part has been tremendous. We have decreased shots incredibly. So to put it in a quick example, time breed day used to have, prior to the system, used to have 30 to 35 cows on it. Now it has like 6. So last time I looked at it, I can look up and it'll tell me how many cows have not been in heat before 60 days picked up from the system. Last I looked, there was 4. So as we get this moving forward and I feel a little more comfortable, I'm going to switch the shot program around. I don't see any sense in giving early loot shots to cows that are already, the whole purpose you give early loot shots are for cows to come in heat and clean them out. Well, if they're already coming in heat on their own, why do we need to give those shots? So I'm going to probably set it so it's at like 50 days, and then those cows that haven't come in heat by 50 days, maybe we'll start them on the shot program. But in a nutshell, it's decreased shots considerably. It also is handy for the breeders. The program does have the mating system right in it, so the breeders have it on their cell phones so they can look up before they even get to the farm as to what cows are in heat, and it tells them what bull that they need to be bred to. So they actually know that before they even arrive onto their farm. And Mike and Emily can also look at that eating time and all that stuff right from their cell phones wherever they happen to be as well.
It doesn't measure the amount of food, though, or does? So you know how much is going into each animal?
No, it will give you a graph of her whole eating time. So it'll also give you a graph of the pen that she's in eating time as well. So that may sound like it's not very useful, but to me, sometimes if the pen is triggered, then why is it triggered? Is someone not pushing feed up? Are they running out of feed? There's many things to look at, but at least it gives you, you know that pen's not eating for some reason. So time to investigate, I guess, to see why. How long has it been in? To answer your question, I forgot to answer that. About a year now. Almost a year.
Andy Dutcher from Humboldt, Nebraska. Do you use astronaut or Lely equipment to push feed up with a robot or anything?
No, it's pushed up manually with a skid steer.
Okay. With the technology that you put into the cows, does that, your rebreds, has that number gone down?
Considerably.
I have lots of questions. I can go. We need to talk afterwards, but this one's for Emily also. I have a question about the genomic testing, what it costs per animal, and then also wondered if you also used testing for colostrum and for immunity after a calf is sold. I went to a workshop and they did both. They tested for, used a fractometer, and I didn't know if you had ever used that before.
I have. I don't do it regularly. When I was testing the colostrum and it was when we were having the issues, when we were having the problem with the E. coli and all that. And I guess, you know, things are going good, everything's good, so you cut back a little bit on all that stuff. Yeah. And what was for the genomic testing?
Genomic, what does genomic testing run like per animal or cost?
Tim can.
Depending on the situation, it's usually anywhere from $38 to $42.
Thank you. Any other questions? To get high quality milk, the Brannigans desire, they know that they must also produce high quality feed. With running over 1,500 acres of hay, alfalfa, and corn, management of the fields and manure is essential for their success. This takes good leadership and vision to plan for the future of understanding where they are this year, but also where they need to come in years to come.
The Brannigans have a lot of cows, and aside from raising healthy calves and making sure the cows stay healthy and comfortable, there's a lot of other things to manage on the farm. They understand that genetics play a big role in progress, but without the right nutrition, the genetics cannot perform optimally. So, at Woods Hill, they produce high-quality corn silage, haylage, and hay that they use for their herd. Additionally, they purchase additional acres of corn silage to meet nutrition requirements for each cow. Here in Turin, New York, they don't have a problem getting crops done. Mike runs the show and knows how to get the 1,500 acres of crops done and done right. He credits his expertise to learning from the best over the years. Along with crop management, Mike also plans carefully with managing the farm's manure. Not only does he monitor the weather closely before, during, and after they spread, he enlists the help of McClelland Agronomic Services to run soil samples regularly so they can make informed decisions on when and how much manure to put on the fields. And because they keep such a tightly managed spreading program, they never have issues with their neighbors complaining. Mike, Emily, and Corey work together as a team, reflecting on the past, focusing on the present, all while looking ahead to the future. They know how to be sustainable, how to keep their cows healthy and happy, how to maximize their milk check, and what it will take to farm in the future. When looking ahead, they see a possibility of expansion, but are planning carefully and making sure decisions will work for the long term. The magic behind Woods Hill really began when Ted was a young boy helping the Reeds. But the magic continues today because of all the hard work the Brannigans have put in over the years. Ted had a vision, built a farm, and put trust in Mike and Emily to take the operation to the next level. He believed in them. And so every morning, Mike and Emily put on their boots, lace them up tight, and in the process, make Ted, their friends, their family, and the industry very proud.
So Mike, running 1,500 acres is almost like another full-time job, right? Can you break down for us a little bit about how many acres of corn, how many acres of hay that you guys run every year?
We're about 640 acres of corn, and the rest of it is mostly alfalfa and some regular hay that we use for dry hay.
So how much of that do you guys put up in corn silage, or do you make high moisture corn?
Oh, it's all corn silage.
All corn silage. Can you tell us a little bit about your land, just what type of soil you guys run, and you talk a lot about manure management, and can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
All of our land is dirt. and we're on a strict protocol with our manure because we're considered a large farm, CAFO farm, and they regulate it pretty heavily.
Okay. Questions for Mike on the crops?
With the manure that you spread on there, do you buy a lot of commercial fertilizer or very little?
Very, very little. This year we had to spray a lot of nitan on our corn because of all the wet weather we had.
Mike and Emily, can you tell us a little bit about the future? You're bringing Corey into the farm, and now he's a partner. Can you tell us kind of what your plans are over the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm hoping I can retire in 15. I don't know, I'll probably be here the rest of my life, and hopefully Corey will keep her going.
Any other questions that you may have? Yeah.
On your forage, do you, I don't, how many acres of corn silage do you normally cut?
About 640.
I don't know how big a window or time span do you cut the 640 acres? Do you plant your corn at different, so you don't have to cut it all at the same time?
Yep.
And you do your own, or do you custom?
We do our own chopping. And the corn is put in so it's not all ready at once, so we can just continuously go through it when we're ready to chop.
And what like percent moisture do you usually start at?
We're trying to keep it right around between 65 and 68%.
So your silage pile, when you get your analysis, so what do you see as a good for your moisture in your silage at the end after it's fermented? Ours came out, I think, at 66% this year.
Right around there.
Right enough.
Any other questions? Mike, Emily, do you have anything in closing that you would like to say? Well, with that, then, I'd like to thank everyone for coming and allowing us to share with you the success of Woods Hills Dairy Farm with Mike, Emily, and Corey. We would like to also thank World Dairy Expo for selecting the Brannigans and hosting the virtual farm tours. We know some of the best learning comes from our peers. I know that Mike and Emily and Corey will be around a little bit longer. If any of you have some questions that you didn't want to ask in front of everybody, they'll be more than happy to answer any questions one-on-one or to talk to you further. So on behalf of CRV again, we would like to thank the Brannigans for their business and all the hard work that they do every single day and entrusting us, and congratulations on this huge honor. So thank you.